Hi, this is Suzi and Cat coming to you from South by Southwest in Austin. It's day 2, 2015. What have you been up to? I've hardly seen you today.
I know. Look, today I've been immersed in the entire digital entrepreneurial city strategy thing. So really wearing my Chief Digital Officer hat. I kicked off the day with a fascinating conversation from a panel of experts, startup people from Oslo, Norway, and the Vice Mayor of Oslo. And they were talking about what they're doing to support the startup ecosystem over there, why they're supporting the startup ecosystem over there. The similarities between Oslo and Brisbane, obviously, which is my hometown, were uncanny. They could have interchanged the words and it would have been the same. I think some of the key takeaways from that was it's important to be nurturing the new economies. For Oslo, oil has been their primary revenue source. Mm-hmm. It's about to dry up. You know, they don't know whether they've got 10, 20 or 30 years, but they know it's drying up. And if they don't replace that industry with another revenue stream, they go back to being a pauper city. So they're encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation. So yeah, it was just a really great conversation. I then matched that with a conversation or listening to Steve Case, who is an internet entrepreneur, and he was one of the founders of AOL, or America Online, and in fact the founder, I shouldn't say one of the founders. He gave us a history of the internet, and I'm going to see if I can find the video because it was fantastic. Okay. But then he was talking about what's coming next. And what's coming next is what he's calling the third wave of the internet. And that's going to be where we actually see disruption across many of the traditional industries that haven't yet been affected. So, you know, the first wave was all about just affecting how we communicate. The second wave was all about the social connectivity that we've seen, like, you know, Twitter and Facebook. Now he's saying the third wave is going to be in places like education, health, food even. Again, that echoes all of the research that we've been seeing back home. It was fascinating to hear one of the internet grandfathers talk about exactly the same thing, and again, why those changes are going to come from startups and from entrepreneurial activity.
That's really interesting because last year we noticed a lot of health sessions, and again this year, and also more food sessions this year.
Yeah. I know, and I wish I could wrap my head around exactly how innovation and entrepreneurship is going to change food. I can't wait to see it because I can feel it, I can almost taste it if you pardon the pun, but I can't quite figure it out for myself. So really looking forward to seeing what the Uber of food is going to be, for example. I heard about the Uber for laundry today, but so whatever the Uber of food is. Continuing the entrepreneurship theme, got to watch one of my favourite entrepreneurs today, Biz Stone, one of the co-founders of Twitter. He's gone on to do Jelly. He originally started at Audio, which was a podcasting platform that he then called on-demand radio, as he said today. Fancy that. It was actually podcasting, and we weren't actually the first, but we were the first to call it online radio. He was talking about his new app, which is totally left my mind. Can you remember what it was called?
Hang on, I've got it right here because I did download it. It's one word. It's like a regular word. Yeah. We'll come back to it in a second, just as soon as we remember what it's called.
What was interesting about it while you look for it is it's another social network, kind of building on the Instagram and Twitter notion of short-form blogging, but building empathy. So he said, you know, for example, in Twitter, it's actually hard to convey feelings, whereas the new
Super. It's called Super.
It's Super. That's right. And the new platform, Super, is about expressing how you feel. So I love that we're at South by, and you put in a little image in. We've had a little play. It's cute. We'll see whether it lasts. But it was just fun to watch him speak again. Finally, and I guess this is where I've had such a geeky day, but finally I got to see the mayor of LA speak about what they're doing from a digital space and how they're embracing the private sector, how they're actually bringing the private sector into council to drive innovation. They're aware that council or government has always been very slow to adopt innovation, and they don't have the products, but they also know that the innovators have the products, but they don't actually have the market. So they're actually saying, we've got the market, we've got the monopoly, so come and play with us. It was a really inspiring conversation. I'll write up a blog piece actually and point to it. But fascinating again how a thriving metropolis is supporting startups and digital innovation. So that was my geek day.
You've been busy today.
I have. How about you? What have you seen today?
This morning I started off with an interview with Guy Kawasaki, who many will know as an Apple evangelist. He's now the evangelist for Canva. Met him across at his hotel and did an interview about The Art of the Start, which is a book he wrote 10 years ago. It's just been re-released. And it was really, really good. He talked about how successful companies find simple solutions for people. It's like what they do. There's nothing often complex. He talked about how he's never heard of a business die because they didn't scale fast enough, which I thought was really, really good. And he talked about, spending time and money on what's important. And business cards and letterhead are not important. Making your first sale, having processes in place, that's what's important. Yep. He was really, really gracious. We then sat down with him and his co-author of The Art of Social Media and had a cup of coffee. And then we started doing these really stupid photos. I don't know if you've seen...
I haven't seen them yet.
No, I haven't either. But there's this series of photos where you imitate stock images. And you know how stock images are always really hokey? Yeah. So we were doing... So if I get a photo from Guy, I'll post it. We were just being silly, but that was good fun.
Links in the show notes.
Yeah, links in the show notes. This afternoon, I did a session on A/B testing, and we A/B test some of our landing pages.
Speaking of geekery,
different I was very geeky today, but just the idea of sample sizes, just testing everything and testing your subject lines, your landing pages, the lists, and the two of the three people on the panel were part of the Obama 2012 campaign.
Oh, wow.
And they had some really interesting statistics about emailing. And now most of us would say we get too many emails, right?
Yeah, right.
However, they did a test about what would happen if they emailed people fewer times. And then they did that for a few weeks, and what happened is funding went down, donations went down. Then they said, well, what if we not only email them as much as we were before, but email them more? And they just ramped it up, and they went through the roof in their income. So, not talking spamming. These are people who opted in to get information and then had a real interest in what they were about. And so I think for many of us, we don't email our customers enough. If you have something relevant to say to the right audience, then absolutely go for it.
And with a strong call to action that your customers are behind, I think a great lesson there from political campaigning is the people who sign up to receive campaign emails want to support their candidate. And we all know that we're busy. So if, multiple emails will get missed before you actually do take action. We see this all the time when I'm talking with networks panels as well as just in market. Emailing does still work hands down over everything else.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of email marketing. My final session, and I can just see her here behind us, is Annabel Gurwitch, who is an actor and a author. Now, so she's been on television, she writes for NPR, New York Times, and she's written a book called I See You Made an Effort, and it's about women. It's about aging, and it's about how it's about how the world starts to see you differently and how you start to see yourself differently. And it was really poignant. She really looks at social trends, and she says she likes writing essays rather than doing memoirs because she draws from other people's stories, and that's what she's done in this book. But she talked about she was very funny. She talked about, how her change in fashion. She talked about her son being too embarrassed to go out with her because she was wearing khaki, and she didn't know when khaki became a crime. But apparently. And she talked about how technology has changed, how we relate to each other. Yeah. And it was very, very funny. And what I love about South by Southwest, right, the room next door was Jimmy Kimmel, the late night host. So people here from all walks of life talking about business, talking about technology. Like technology is kind of the common thread, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And trends and how life is changing.
Yeah, well, and how actually one of the conversations that we were having in the Los Angeles conversation was how digital is actually not something that we do anymore. It's the underpinning foundation on which everything else sits. Yeah. So
fun day, really, really full day. Other people that were here today, we had Gary Vaynerchuk speaking with Jack Welch. I know, as I said, Jimmy Kimmel was here. Big rooms, big auditoriums, full. I went to 2 sessions that I couldn't get into because they were absolutely full. Need to plan better for day 3, I think.
Oh, c'est la vie, c'est la vie. I think for me the takeaway today, and actually it started to show up yesterday, I think oftentimes in Australia we feel like we're behind. We feel like that we're not, we feel like we have to constantly reach out and get what America has. Everyone, Oslo, Los Angeles, Austin, they're all struggling with exactly the same challenges that we're struggling with back home. And it was refreshing actually that they're all struggling with them as cities. So, cities are becoming the economic heartbeat, the small business heartbeat as well. But everyone's struggling with the same issues. And actually, we actually have better internet at home on our mobile connections than we do here at the moment, based on how we've been able to not connect a few times today. So it's interesting to see that we're not as far behind as we often feel like we are.
Yeah, I heard a few Aussie accents today, so that was fun. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow here on Social Media for Small Business.